Hey, what's up guys? Hop here. If you're a gun nerd, there are a couple of movies you probably bring up way too often in casual conversation. Obviously, there's Michael Mann stuff like Heat, Collateral, then there's Blood Diamond, Black Hawk Down, of course, maybe even District 9 if you're feeling adventurous. But those movies are played out. I'm sick of watching them. I'm sick of people talking about them. So today, we're going to be talking about a movie called Jack Reacher. And I don't know why I have a Blu-ray of this, because I don't own a Blu-ray player. My desktop doesn't have a disc drive in it. What's the point? Anyway, the first Jack Reacher is criminally overlooked as a movie for gun nerds, but it really is one of the best, which should not be surprising because it was written and directed by Christopher McCory, the writer of Usual Suspects, writer-director of Way of the Gun, and more recently, writer and director of the last 4 Mission Impossible movies. Chris McCory is a hardcore gun nut, but he's subtle, so when you notice those little details, you get to feel really clever about it. Today, we're going to talk about one gun from one scene of Jack Reacher 2012. Let's get into it. Christopher McCory's first film as director is the best gun movie of all time, Way of the Gun. No, it's not Heat. Good guess, but have you considered forming an original thought once in a while? You might like it. McCory is an autistic gun nerd and the unquestionable Zen master of the tasteful cinematic shootout, but he doesn't do it all alone. Before becoming a screenwriter and director, McCory worked at a detective agency and had some experience carrying and training with handguns. His brother Doug McCory was a Navy SEAL and is often the weapons advisor on Chris McCory films like Way of the Gun and Jack Reacher.
My brother Doug is a Navy SEAL, and I brought him in to work with the actors and train them with guns and get them sort of used to the correct handling of guns to the point where it was second nature.
There's a lot of authentic gun handling in Jack Reacher and more than a couple of interesting guns, but we're going to focus on a rifle that appears briefly in the final act, and you can barely see it because the scene is dark and rainy. And even this barely visible gun that only gets fired once on screen managed to capture my attention. You will see why. It's uncommon to see fully kitted out rifles in films. Guns in movies look like props, not like something the character holding them would ever actually use in real life. You're lucky if they even have optics on them, let alone common stuff like weapon lights or ergonomic add-ons like grips and slings. The only regular exception is war films, which are often working from historical reference for their setups. In most movies, it's not even clear how the characters are transporting their weapons from place to place. If the scene doesn't call for the gun to be waved around or fired, it's probably not on screen. So there's no need to consider holsters, magazine carriers, or good, stiff gun belts. Hey, that gives me an idea for a shameless sponsor plug. Today's video was made possible in part by our channel sponsor, Blue Alpha. Check out the link in the video description for virtually indestructible EDC gun belts, 2-layer battle belts, pistol and rifle magazine pouches, dump pouches, and my favorite 2-point quick adjust rifle sling currently on the market. Blue Alpha makes high quality tactical nylon gear right here in the United States. So a big thank you to Blue Alpha for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get back into the video. 2000's Way of the Gun bucks a lot of common Hollywood gun tropes. The main characters in this film have signature sidearms which they carry in real inside the waistband holsters. They also have pouches for spare magazines, they use slings for their long guns. This movie might also hold the record for the most magazine changes ever caught on film. This stuff is definitely a treat, but it's even more rare to see a gun that's actually set up in a sensible, usable way. Movie prop masters like to treat weapon accessories like greebles on a Star Wars bigature. They add texture to the scene, but who cares if the gun makes any sense? The gun we're looking at today is the AR build featured at the very end of Jack Reacher in the quarry shootout scene. It's the personal rifle of Charlie, the lead henchman for the evil Liebendauer Corporation, played exceptionally well by Jai Courtney in one of his first film roles. Charlie is the main antagonist throughout the film and is shown to be proficient with firearms, and at 6'1", he looks massive compared to most of Hollywood. Jack Reacher came out in 2012, and Charlie's rifle build is the peak of 2012, and would still be a pretty solid looking setup today. The entire scene takes place at night in a heavy downpour, so it's not easy to see what all is going on with this build, but trust me, I have analyzed the freeze frames extensively, and this is a pretty accurate rundown of the build. To start with, we have a free float quad rail. It's really hard to tell what it is, but I'm thinking maybe a Troy Industries MRF 2-piece. The time period fits, and I think I can see some of the telltale Troy geometry in certain shots. The rifle is kitted out with a Magpul angled foregrip and a Surefire mini scout light with a remote switch. in some scenes. Continuity is a bit fucked on this one. The muzzle device kind of looks like an AAC 51T, which would have been basically brand new at the time. The optic stack is what really matters on this gun and what actually factors into the action of the film. The primary optic is a Leupold Mark IV MRT 1.5-5, identified by the very distinct offset battery housing. It's mounted in a Bobro QD scope mount, or maybe a Trijicon branded Bobro QD scope mount as identified by that distinctive top ring geometry. The gun also has a dual Illum RMR in an offset mount on the handguard. I think in some scenes you can see the distinct curve and the color of the light pipe on the dual Illum version of the RMR, meaning it is not the battery-powered version. The offset mount is probably made by AMS Machine. These were often used for the Insight MRDS and other micro red dots of the day because most of them weren't all that durable and needed the added protection of the wings on the AMS mount. Finally, we have a set of Magpul backup iron sights on the gun. All three of these aiming solutions factor into the pivotal scene at the end of the film. Let's set the scene. Jack Reacher's attorney friend Helen Rodin has been kidnapped by an evil corporation with mob ties. They're holding her hostage at a rock quarry, and Reacher's only assets are an Audi coupe, a Bowie knife, and an elderly former Marine.
So let's get to it.
Through the power of on-site procurement, he is able to acquire a rifle and take out all the low-level goons, leaving only named characters between him and the end credits. So first, Jack Reacher beats Charlie to death and takes his gun. It's actually a great fight scene, considering Jai Courtney has at least 6 inches on Tom Cruise, if you believe both of their build heights. As Reacher prepares to make entry to the construction office, he removes the optic and flips up the Magpul backup sights. The low-end magnification on the Leupold Mark IV MRT LPVO is 1.5x. It's not ideal for close encounters. Why not just use the offset red dot? Well, the dual Illum RMR is pretty much worthless in mixed lighting conditions, but that's probably not the logic here. The bad guys have a hostage, and guesstimating the hold to use at close range with the offset is not a good idea if you have to hit a small target, and you don't want to put a canoe rack in the human shield. It's also pouring rain, so the glass of the RMR and maybe the emitter could be obscured. A fun note here, the iron sights on ACOGs and LCANs are mainly intended for use in cold or wet weather for when the glass of your magnified optic is wet or fogged. I'm serious, it's in the manual. Reacher brings order to chaos with a single round from this very cool custom AR and then tosses it, just one shot. Kinda poetic. Lots of thought put into a prop weapon that barely sees any use, even if it is part of a pivotal scene. Anyway, this movie is great even if you're not into guns. I think Chris McCory got sick of twist endings after writing The Usual Suspects, so Jack Reacher, like Way of the Gun, is sort of an anti-mystery. We know the twist at the beginning, and the tension comes from not knowing if the main characters will figure it out or not. I have heard that the Jack Reacher film is not at all faithful to the books, but the Reacher TV series is an unbearable parade of author insert power fantasy cringe. So maybe the books are dog shit, and we owe Tom Cruise an apology. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is one of, if not the coolest movie guns I've ever seen. First of all, it is a legitimately practical setup. It has an optic with magnification, a light, backup sights, even an offset reflex. Secondly, it's current. It's not something they saw in a historical reference photo. It's not some old Fudlore setup that took a decade to trickle down into Hollywood. If you posted this build to ARFCOM in 2012, you would be rightfully praised for how sensible and comprehensive it is. And finally, most importantly, there are aspects of this build that actually play into the action of the scene. The quick detach scope mount, the backup iron sights. It's a cool little bonus for gun nerds that are operating on the same wavelength as the McCory brothers.
Those are Colts. They hold 7 rounds each.
Okay.
Actually, I could really get into anal gun freakery.
I've heard that about you.
Thank you.
And best of all, it's not some cringe, pandering bullshit like the John Wick movies where they try to stroke our Redditor e-peen by drawing attention to conspicuous nonsense. I swear to God those films are some kind of grift. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. I know this one was probably a bit of a departure, but you probably know how much I love movies, and you certainly know how much I like guns. If you'd like to support this channel, check out the link in the video description, and I will see you in the next one.